What you have taken has been from here. What you gave has been given here. What belongs to you today belonged to someone yesterday and will be someone else's tomorrow. Change is the law of the universe. And when we look at the earth, the ages beneath our feet, change is non existent. It occurs slowly for some, rapidly for others. I stand before a great rock, one that moves, is alive, has changed, is changing, and will forever change. This rock is over 600 million years old, and it has seen a lot of change. It has a story to tell, one that the Blackfoot know well and have added to through hundreds, if not thousands, of years. This is the world's largest glacial erratic, locally known as Big Rock, and referenced in the Blackfoot language as Okotoks. It is the moving stone, alive both in history and spirit. It is said to have traveled from the edge of where present Jasper, Alberta is presently, and left in place by a mighty glacier as it retreated during the last great ice age some 10 to 12,000 years ago. What is curious is that, as far as we understand, the tribes in this area were unaware of this glacial rock at that time, and were not aware of geological methods of which glaciers receded and melted back. To archaeologists, these tribes could not have existed in this area beforehand because it was covered in thick layers of glacial ice. But they know that the stone, the 16,000 plus ton rock, moved. They claim that this is perhaps where the world around them actually began, where a supernatural mischief maker, Napi, was pursued by the rock, and how mountains, rivers, and streams were created by this event. Without any geological background, they somehow understood that what we know today, but instead of textbooks and university study, they told what they knew in story and in myth. Here, then, is the story of Okotoks. In the early time, everything was alive and could communicate freely. The animals could talk, the trees and grass could talk, the rocks could talk. As Napi was looking over the landscape and traveling north, he saw a great rock in the distance and sat under it to shade himself from the hot sun. Thankful to the rock, Napi offered his buffalo robe to the rock. He did not need it in the heat of the day, and he told the rock that when it is cold, the rock could cover itself with the buffalo robe to stay warm. The rock was very thankful. Napi continued on creating the landscape as he went, but suddenly the weather changed and it got cold. He asked his friend the coyote to retrieve his buffalo robe, but the coyote returned empty-handed, stating that the rock said it was a gift and now his. Napi got upset and stormed off back toward the rock, snuck up and grabbed the buffalo robe. The rock lifted and started after Napi, chasing him south. Napi called out to the gophers for help. In Napi's time, gophers were about 5 feet tall. They wanted to help Napi and stood up tall to stop the rock from rolling over Napi, but it just rolled over top of them, squishing them down to the size they are today. Napi kept running as fast as he could as the rock chased him further south. Finally, he came upon some bats and asked for some help. The bats agreed and dive-bombed the rock at one time. They knocked pieces everywhere, but the rock kept going after Napi. The bats looked at each other, and their noses pressed in as they are today. Napi then saw another sky creature, the nighthawks flying about. He asked them for help, and they blew gas at the rock, splitting it in half and stopping it right in its present location. Napi then understood that if you give something to someone, you shouldn't take it back. He returned with 2 buffalo robes, one for each of the rocks. The rock has sat in its present location for more than 10,000 years, and it has been a destination point for ancient ceremony. On several rock faces, there are pictoglyphs depicting various scenes and visions. In some, a man is clearly visible, as well as a repeating pattern of ovals. Some claim there is a story of a large meteorite crash that occurred before the time of the present-day native tribes. Interpretation is lost or interpreted differently, even to the elders, as these types of pictoglyphs are between several hundred to even thousands of years old and are personal to the artists who actually drew them. Okotoks is a sacred site not only to the present-day Blackfoot, but also to the civilization who lived before them, who understood geological anomalies and could interpret and navigate the ever-changing star constellations in our skies. For their essence lives on, not only in story and myth, but in solid rock, even if things change.